Hello and welcome to SquishiVision. So super quick because I should really absolutely be in bed. It's first contact day, so they've released a couple of teaser trailers for Star Trek Picard season 2, Star Trek Discovery season 4, and Star Trek Lower Deck season 2. So we're going to have a quick watch, script from a bit as best we can, and maybe get some immediate thoughts on what's been said. But going to keep it brief because, like I said, I should be in bed. I got work tomorrow, or rather today. Also, as far as I can tell, the trailers haven't been released on YouTube, or at least I don't have the energy to go look for them, and they're not on any of the official channels as far as I can see. So I'm having to go on Facebook, and Facebook isn't the best for video playing, so we'll see how this goes anyway. Also, I think my computer's being a bit moody. Right, okay, so we have Jean-Luc Picard, we have Patrick Stewart giving a monologue over time. I can't quite remember if this, I can't quite tell if this is a new monologue or can't remember if it's one that was said in the previous season. Obviously, it's an older Patrick Stewart, so it's not from the previous season. Talking about kind of, the time being the fan frontier and the kind of, it's carrying the themes that we explored in the first Picard about, identity and kind of legacy and age and that kind of all those concepts. It's kind of continuing on to there. I think there's supposed to be some degree of irony in the speech because obviously, especially the second chances bit, I think it's meant to be a direct callback to Tapestry, which is the episode where Picard gets stabbed and is basically it's basically a Star Trek riff on It's a Wonderful Life, where he's shown what his life would be if he didn't take that foolish action, and that he didn't get to live a life that he actually wanted to live. Um, and I guess it's interesting because I guess it means we're going to have some degree of time travel aspects in the next season of Star Trek Picard, almost certainly because time travel is a massive part of Star Trek. It's constantly in it. But I guess also kind of progressing forward and things like that. But obviously, the biggest kind of drop in this trailer is that Q is going to return, played by John Delancey, who did reprise the role briefly in Star Trek Lower Decks in a kind of cameo appearance. So clearly, he was always happy to kind of reappear in Star Trek, and now he's going to make a bigger role here, which makes sense because obviously his character, whilst he appeared in every single other Star Trek series in that era of Star Trek, with the captains, he always had a closer connection with Picard. He appeared in the first episode of The Next Generation, and he appeared in the last episode of The Next Generation as a kind of bookend, and then built between then, and he was kind of the, I guess, one of the main antagonists, or, sometimes not really an antagonist, in the series. So, and he's a big favorite, like, character, and I absolutely love, like, Q, and I think John Delancey, does an amazing job of portraying the character. Like, there is never a time when he's on screen and he's not owning the action, and so that's always great. And he bounces off so well with Patrick Stewart. So it'll be interesting to see Q in this season, especially considering that Picard is now a synthetic life form, and no longer the same Picard who passed away at the end of the last series. This is a newer kind of resurrected Picard. So it'll be interesting to see what Q's kind of take on that is. I guess Q is an audience surrogate, because that was a very controversial way to end the last season, and I'm not entirely myself even convinced that it was the right move. I feel like maybe Picard dying would have I don't know. I mean, thematically, it was all about synthetic life forms aren't actually that different from real life forms, which is a fine morale to go along. I think I'm thinking more practically. Like, obviously, Patrick Stewart's quite old now, and if this would be the perfect opportunity to kind of retire a character in a way which thematically makes sense. But I guess also the whole point of the series is it doesn't really make a difference. If you're synthetic or a real life form, they're both kind of equal life forms, and it's kind of the whole thesis. And if you watch kind of more video essays online, it actually makes more and more sense that that's what Picard would eventually kind of end up being. And he's already has a cybernetic kind of heart, so it's kind of a progression from there. Okay, cool. Yeah, well, that's my thoughts on this so far. Let's scroll up if I can get this video to close down. Facebook isn't going to be a bit laggy. Hopefully there's nothing personal that you'll see. Actually, you know what? swap to this while I get the next video up. Especially because I think my computer is complaining about how long I've left it turned on, so it's being a bit laggy. Right. So the next one is the Discovery trailer. Right, so let's watch the Discovery trailer. Yeah, well, first of all, I'm really glad that they've redone the uniforms. I don't know if that's a reactionary move to, I think, a lot of criticism that the uniforms got at the end of last season, or if it was always a plan. If it was always a plan, it seems odd that they would introduce the grey uniforms at the last of the end season to not use them in this season. But yeah, I was never fond of the grey uniforms. I don't think it would have. I don't know. It was. I was willing to see if it grew on me as I watched the season, or if I stopped caring so much about it. I wasn't a fan of it as it first appeared. I didn't think it. I think it was a step back from the uniforms we'd seen prior. But now they've gone for they kind of reversed the colours. So the coloured stripe is now the coloured accent is now the main colour, and then the accent's now grey, and it's now kind of reformed to basically this colour pattern of, you know, if your operations you have gold, and if your command you have red, and if you're well, I think it's interesting. It's not quite translated the same way because we see Stamets, who's engineering. Well, Stamets is engineering, but also science, and that was kind of the confusion between the two. Like, obviously, science were in blue and engineering, whereas in operations, gold. And I guess they've decided that Stamets is a science officer, not an engineering officer, which makes sense. He's always been confused. People have always assumed Stamets is the chief of engineering, but actually, we don't think we've ever actually been introduced to chief of engineering. He's just the spore drive technician, or the person who's doing the research into the Massilia network. But yeah, less about the costumes, more about what we're told. So we've given a kind of plot device straight up, not any details about it, but apparently there's an words. What's the word? There's a space anomaly. I would clearly not make it in Star Trek if I couldn't pronounce that simple word. You know what I'm talking. You know what I'm saying. There's one of those. It's in space. I can't pronounce that word. There's one of those. It's in space and it's threatening Federation. It's threatening everyone else. So this seems to be actually kind of Star Trek's Discovery's formulaic go-to. So I'm a bit concerned, but I mean I have faith. Obviously, I mean, if it wasn't the case in season 1 because the thing in season 1 was the Klingon War, and then well, that was the main actual driving kind of thing. It was, and also season 1 was more episodic than arcish. But in season 2 we had the Red Angel lights, and then in season 3 we had the burn, and then in season 4 we've got another space thing, which is threatening everyone. So there seems to be a pattern here, but we are not given much detail, so I'm too early to criticise. I was a big fan of season 3. I think season 3 was very at the core Star Trek, because essentially what we got was a post-apocalyptic Starfleet where everyone had been torn asunder, and we got these people who came from a more an era where the belief was more strong, and they were able to inject the belief to everyone else, and there was some kind of very excellent kind of moments in there. So hopefully we get more of that. We do see a moment where apparently Discovery is heavily damaged, and it's clearly, impacted the crew emotionally on a large scale. I think that's what a majority of the footage is from. It's often kind of the same incident, and it kind of traumatized a lot of the crew. So that's obviously something which they're gonna have to deal with. Whether that's an early event that happens or a later event that happens, it's not clear. And then obviously you got Michael Burnham kind of monologuing about Unity, which is kind of her status quo. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see. I was always excited to see where the season would go next. Now that I was more comfortable with the whole jump to the future thing, and how I sort of execute that, and how great that was, and how great last season was, and how it dealt with a lot of inherent Star Trek themes, perhaps better than the first 2 seasons did. I was always very happy to see, because now from New Frontier, now they've got less restrictions about what they can do. Now they're more free to explore the different kind of variety stories they want to do without any kind of restrictions about other canon. So I'm extremely excited to see where we go next with this. Right, well, we've got one more trailer to go through. which is the Lower Decks trailer. So it's more of a teaser. It's kind of half a minute one. So I'll just wait for Facebook to load that up.
What up? We doing sci-fi stuff today?
Only thing missing is Boimler. He's gotta be having the time of his life.
Red alert! I'm starting to think this jam session's got too many licks and not enough comps.
What does that even mean?
Okay, apparently playing at the trailer again. Yeah, so I mean, I don't think I ever really publicly said my thoughts on Lower Decks. It's not my most favorite Star Trek. I guess I think that's more of a me problem. I'm not really into the whole. I've never seen Rick or Morty, but apparently it's the same person or similar influence or whatever. And I'm not really into that kind of comedy. And a lot of it was very blue. I don't know. It was hit and miss for me. I enjoyed it I enjoyed it fair enough. And I have no criticism against it. I just don't think the humor was really for me. And I guess I was also kind of a bit annoyed because I saw a lot of people praising Lower Decks as being kind of, very Star Trek-y. And you've seen people who criticize Short Treks for its comedy. I was like, what? You can't be criticizing this and liking Short Treks. You can't have both. So I'll watch it, and I'll kind of be very excited for the references. But it's weird when a show satirizes itself. Like, it's fine for external parties to parody a show, but when you're parodying yourself, it gets a bit odd. And I'm like, this is someone who's a big fan of postmodernism, but there's like a balance to it, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer does this fantastically throughout this entire run, in a way I don't think perhaps other shows have really quite come to the same kind of degree. But we're not really given. I mean, it's not really a plot it's not really an arc or a plot in Lower Decks. It's episodic because it's meant to be kind of referential to the older Star Trek series. But we see, I can't remember the name of the creature, but that gorilla creature with the thing on its head, I recognize that from the original series. You see kind of the same comic humor. So the insinuation here that Boiler's going to get retransferred. Because I always wondered, well, what are they going to do with the... sorry, there's a crick in my arm. What are they going to do with the character of Boiler, that's her name. What are they going to do with the character of Boimler now that he's transferred to the Titan? Because obviously now you've got characters split across two ships, and the focus was to the Ceratops. But this kind of implies that he's going to kind of burn out and get retransferred back to Ceratops, which would be a shame, really. But I guess it's kind of what happens in these kind of comedies, and that's kind of why I not really that massively infused about it, because it's like, I don't know, I've never liked comedy which punches down on people. This isn't a political statement. I just like, comedies where the protagonist, where the humor, it's basically Schadenfreude. I've not been into Schadenfreude. I don't like laughing at people's misfortune. Again, not criticism of Schadenfreude, not criticism of people who like it, not a political statement at all. It's just not my type of comedy. I think I'm just too sympathetic for that. I don't like it when people don't succeed, even when they're interested in the best place. So I don't like it when someone, where the comedy is, oh, this person tried so hard to get the role, oops, but they, didn't actually tend to be suited to it all. I think because it kind of rings too hard to home as someone who has struggled a lot with success and lack of self-confidence. It's hard to kind of laugh at other people for failures. So I'm ashamed that happens, but I guess that might be just the way it goes. We get a whole bunch of kind of just short clips of things happening. There's not really much to go into it. We're going to see a bit more of Jonathan Frakes as Captain Riker, but that's probably also going to be like a single episode cameo. But yeah, I mean, I'll watch it when it comes out, 12th of August. But yeah, it's hard to really. There's probably loads of Easter eggs in this trailer. I'm not gonna scrub through and look at them because, like I said, I should be in bed. But like I said, there's not really much else to speculate because a lot of things in it are very throwaway anyway. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the Star Trek teasers. What did you guys think? Which ones are you excited about? No hate on Discovery because this is a pro Discovery channel. I mean, you can express yourself if you want. You're just gonna get no sympathy from me. It was kind of cool to have an excuse to put on my uniform again because I'm not wearing it in a while. But other than that, I will see you guys I'm gonna do a reaction review of Loki tomorrow. Because like I said, I need to go to bed. So look out for that. And otherwise, I will see you guys when I next. I keep saying that because I don't have a closer. I'll see you guys tomorrow when I watch Loki. All right, that's what's gonna happen. Ciao.